like, what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? Live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. So what's the dream of? What's the hope in? What's the doubt for? And live to no end. This is living. The life I've been given is a gift. If I'm a living, I'ma live it to death. Yeah.
All right, everybody, welcome to the agency call. I'm excited to be able to chat tonight. When you see the title of the call tonight, you see how to help 10 families in 3 days. Everyone's like, okay, what's the secret? What's the secret? Josh, tell us the secret. And I think you guys are going to figure out really quickly that like the secret is mastering some basic fundamentals. And sometimes that's like not what you want to hear, but it's like, how do you consistently do it? Because I can tell you about a dozen stories off the top of my head without even thinking of someone who's come in here and helped 10 families in a week, 20 families in a week, and they're a flash in the pan and they're gone in 3 months. They don't exist as an agent. They quit the industry entirely. But how do you consistently, do it? How do you consistently help 10 families in a week? But then, we're talking about helping 10 families in 3 days. So it's Monday. That means that Josh came into Monday having already helped his 10 families over the weekend. He got the job done early. Now, everything that he does from Monday through Thursday is a bonus, and he's trying to set a high score, So how do you do that every single week? Because I remember when I first got started, it was all, how do I have my first 10 family week? First 10 family week, first 10 family week. You do this long enough, you're kind of mad if you don't have a 10 family weekend because you're just wanting to get the job done. When you come in Monday, having already helped 10 families, that's when you help 20 families for the week because you're not selling out of desperation, So I get excited about that. So Josh, how we doing, man?
Man, hey, I'm doing great. And I'm always excited to be on this call with you, excited to be in business with you, all the things that we're doing, Lead Champ, the boot camp, and just, appreciate all you do with the leadership. And, hey, man, it's good to know you.
Yeah, you as well, man. So here's the deal, Josh. There's a few people on here who obviously don't know you. So just quick background. And then I just want to really get a breakdown of what you've been doing. Because I'm going to make a little, I'm going to do a little reveal for Josh. So Josh used to, previously be what we call a new mortgage protection mailer addict, like a lot of us are, spending $90 on a lead. And Josh recently got rid of all of his mortgage protection, all of his brand new mortgage protection. And he's been piecing it together with a handful of different strategies, really focusing on his ROI, which we're going to talk a lot about tonight. But give us a little bit of your background and we'll get into that.
Yeah, absolutely. So real quick, I've been in and around sales and the insurance industry at large for a very long time, over a decade. Sold some life insurance, sold some auto and home insurance, was with a direct sales and network marketing company for 14 years. And, while learned so much about myself, how to be self-employed, which is probably for many people that are new to this, more important to learn than anything about sales in insurance itself is how to be self-employed. Skint my knees up, was able to scrape by and pay my bills from, those 10 plus years. But, from an outside looking in, wouldn't call it a success because it was just an upward struggle every step of the way until, finally about a year before I found Family First Life. I had a 6-figure year, made a very good income. Everyone would have, that probably saw me said, you're crazy for leaving this comfort zone. And you finally are making the income that you always said you wanted to make to go do something different. But just because, you have some money that's coming in your bank account doesn't mean you're secure, right? Security is confidence. Security is, I can go out and do this and provide for my family. And, my future is bright. And I get up every day and I feel good knowing that, the best is in front of me and not behind me. And I felt the opposite of that. I was at the height of my career before coming here. And I was the most stressed, had the most anxiety because I knew anything could change with that previous company. If I was running the company, I would have made changes that would have made my income go away just because of the way it was ran. So when I saw Family First, immediately, yes, I saw income and potential, but what I saw more than anything with everything that I learned over a decade of sales in the insurance industry was I can have control. And if I can have control, I can get up in the morning and know that my destiny is secure as long as I'm willing to apply myself, do the work, and learn what I need to learn. And I'm so grateful and thankful that I took that step. Does that mean it's always been easy? Absolutely not. But at no time have I felt just like out of control. I don't know what's going to do. I just knew that I had to put one foot in front of the other and I was going to make it. And I'm so glad that I did.
I love it, man. I love it. So obviously we'll get into like some like little nut and bolt type things because you've been a huge help with us, creating some of these automations and things for Lead Champ Pro and some things we have coming in the future, which, really you kind of piloted and figured it out on your own that you started to teach to your team. And now we wanted to offer to everybody, but let's kind of take it back to more of like basic principle side of things. We were texting a little bit earlier, like how do you guarantee you can't really guarantee anything, but like, how do you maximize your potential for, protecting 10 families in a week, or in this case, in 3 days? Like, what are some basic principles to start with as a new agent, whether that be, protecting your dial time or lead flow? Like, what does that look like just to start?
Yeah. So, maybe we start with the punchline and work backwards, because it's like, you can have the answer, but if you don't have all the little things right to get to the end, like, it doesn't matter, right? It's like I can tell somebody, go get these leads over here, but if you don't like plan out your week and make sure that like you get up on time and get it, like, it doesn't matter, right? Sometimes people are like, I don't want to give away my secrets because then everyone will know. Most everyone's not going to do it,
Fair.
So the secret is, right? Jamie just said when we both got started in the business, it was like, schedule 30 appointments a week, sit on 20, sell on 10, sell on, 10 sales for the week, 10 families help for the week. And then we have like telesales and all this stuff. And then we think that we can beat the numbers. And what I found is, yes, we can be more skilled and confident and have all these cool tools. And you can increase the numbers a little bit, but like the numbers are the numbers. And so if you work them in your favor, it's going to work in your favor. And so, I mean, to focus on 10 families helped in 3 days, I just focus on having those 30 appointments in 3 days. It's as simple as that. There's 6 working days. You take 1 day off, right? That's 60 appointments a week. If you ran that many, you could be bad and still wind up helping a ton of families.
So pretty much what I'm hearing here is that when you were trying to help 10 families a week, you were doing 30 appointments for the week, and you just instead condensed your 30 appointments down to 3 days. So really you aren't even any better than you were when you were running 30 appointments a week. You're just trying to run 60 a week.
Yeah, absolutely. And so instead of, how many people on here, right? And if you're new, this doesn't make any sense. If you're new, you're like, I need to learn the products. I need to learn the objections. I need to learn, the word tracks. I need to sound smooth like Jamie. Yes, learn all that stuff. But at some point, right, once you're helping, 15, 20 families a month, you don't know it all, but you know what you need to know to go out and make it happen. You know how to sell insurance. From there, it's like, how do I manipulate these numbers into my favor, right? Because it's one thing to say, go get 10 appointments a day on telesales. It's a whole other thing to do that, right? You have to manage your emotions, manage your kid's schedule, manage your health, not get sick, manage your lead flow. How do you do that and not spend all day on the phone with the carriers, right? You have to go get a VA, like Jamie said. Otherwise, you're not going to have enough time to make all this stuff happen. And so it's putting the pieces of the puzzle together to solve for X. X is how many appointments do I need? And then Y is how many appointments do I sit on a day? Those are the two things that, we all have to kind of figure out and tool with. And once you figure those two things out, the rest is going to fall in place.
So we just got a question in the chat. How do you fit 30 appointments into 3 days, Josh?
Okay. Now we'll get into the nitty gritty, right? So right away you go, maybe you're new, right? You say, and here's the thing about the field, not that the field is one's better. That's a whole other conversation. We cover that in boot camp, but it's like, when I was in the field, I remember when I first got to where I'm setting my full schedule, I would set at most 8 appointments in the day because of drive time and all that. And you might get to 5. You sell 3 or 4. That was a great day. But on telesales, you can set, I've had days, Jamie, you've had days where we've had 15 appointments. You have an 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, and then you have a 1:30, 2:30, 3, 4, you have one every 30 minutes. And that's okay, because is everybody going to answer the phone? No. If somebody's a little bit late, that's okay. It's just a phone call. If somebody no shows, that's okay. You can go on to the next appointment. And so, we get so in our head and thinking about the business. I posted this on my story on Instagram and Facebook. I think it was Instagram. It's like, if there was a devil of sales, like, he wants you to stop and think about your business. Because if you think about your business, you'll stop doing your business, and then you'll start doubting your business. But if you have appointments all day long and you don't have time to think, you're not going to have time to think about not feeling like you're going to do it. You're not going to have time to think about, what if they don't show? What if they don't buy? What if no one buys? You're just so busy doing. So how do you do that? Well, you just book that many. Now you break this down even further and talk about tactics. But I think the first thing is just not worrying about, well, who's going to show and not going to show. It's just, number one, getting them on the schedule, so you have less time to sit around and do nothing.
Mm-hmm. Overthinking your schedule, I think, is a big thing. When I remember when I was in the field, I'd be like, okay, I've got these 6 different counties around my hometown that I'm willing to go run, but I'm only going to run the leads in Lynn County. I'm going to dial the leads in Lynn County first, then I'm going to dial the ones in Marion County next, and I'm going to try to create this perfect driving route around Oregon to be able to, have this perfect thing. And that messed me up, to be totally honest. Then I started just booking anything that said yes. I would show my wife my driving schedule. Like, okay, so I'm starting here, and my first appointment's 2 hours away. And then my second appointment is actually a half hour further south than where I started. And then my third appointment's over here, and my fourth appointment's here, 5th, 6th, 7th. And she's like, that doesn't seem very efficient. I'm like, I know, but they told me to come over. So it didn't really matter to me. And people, like, all the time would be like, well, why are you doing that? I'm like, listen, like, these people said, like, it was a solid appointment. Like, when I was focused on hitting my appointment numbers, regardless of where they were, I stopped caring about being late. People started giving me an incredible amount of grace, and it didn't really matter. I would show up to some appointments 2 hours late, and some clients cared, of course, but most didn't. And same thing here when it comes to telesales. You book an appointment every half hour, I promise you're going to be late. It's kind of a stressful, fun, crazy day when everybody answers the phone. You're like, holy crap, everyone's answering the phone. But, like, most days, not everyone does answer the phone. So, like, the days they do, it's a good thing. If you're behind, it's a good thing. The other thing is, Josh, how long was your first appointment in comparison to your average now?
Oh, okay. It's funny you say that. So my first couple appointments, I know, like, it was not uncommon to be in the home for 2.5 hours. And on Saturday, I had my biggest sale of the day was over 3 families. It was 33 minutes.
Yeah.
So
you did 3 separate applications, or it was just one
big one?
Okay, understood. So yeah, my first appointment was over 2 hours because I was figuring it out. There's a lot of figuring it out when you're first getting started. On average, there's times when I remember, if I ever sat down in a home when I was brand new and I had to write 3 policies, it was a 2.5 hour appointment, hands down. Now, after doing this for a while, I can write 2 AmeriCorps applications, husband, wife, and an accidental application in under 40 minutes. And that's including the presentation. So it's like, you also get better. You get more efficient. So how do you run 10 appointments in a day? Well, first he started out running 30 appointments for the week. Then he got to 30 appointments for 3 days because he also got more efficient. So it's like, when you're brand new, like, the goal is just to set as many as you can. And you will have some appointments that take you an hour or 2 hours, and you'll have other appointments that take you 30 minutes. That's you getting familiar with the electronic applications. If it's your first time ever going through it, you're like, what do? I don't know what to click here. Now it's like, I've done a 1,000 AmeriCorps applications, 1,000 MOO applications. Like, no, yes, no, yes. All right, make sure I type here, boom, 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 boom. I can, like, be filling out one on my phone and one on the computer at the same time, and get 2 of them done, in record speed. So getting better and getting faster is also a way that you're going to have those days where you run 10 appointments in a day, but then also those same days, you'll have one appointment that does run an hour and a half, and now you're late to the next 2, and you text people, hey, I'm 30 minutes behind, move to the next one, they no-show you, and then you're back on time for the 3rd appointment. So the numbers all work out.
Well, and not only that, but, like, we think so linear. We think like, oh, we think like employees. We do. It's like, I worked, I should get paid. And it's like, if we stop for 2 seconds, we know that's not the case, right? So like on Friday, I had, like 10, 12 appointments. It didn't go my way. I wrote one application, very, very small application, right? It was like half a family. But then Saturday, I ran 8 appointments and it was a huge day. And, it was like 6 families. And, for 3 days, it was like over 10. So it's like, but that's the thing. What I found is if you just keep that number high, it's gonna average out. You're gonna write more than what you expect if you just keep up that pace. Where we get into the weeds is we start trying to figure out how do we essentially it's how can we get the result in less work. And it's like every time you spend time doing that, you just end up with less.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a fact. I couldn't agree more. How can I get the same result for less work is never really the mentality. It's like the same person who sees that there's a 50% off discount code on leads, and rather than getting twice as many leads as they normally get, they get the same amount of leads for half the price. Whereas like there was an opportunity there. You chose to say, okay, I normally spend 500. This time I'm going to spend 250. Whereas you could have spent the same 500 and gotten double the leads to be able to, increase, the amount of work that you would have to do, but then also increase your opportunities to be able to, go out there and help some families. So I think a mentality is probably, a lot of, I think that's 99% of where agents get stuck is they think too much, and they're not, just setting the appointments and, figuring out the rest as they go.
Well, yeah, Jamie, think about all the names that we know of Hall of Fame producers, people that are going to be on the cruise, people that are always at the top, right? There's been a lot of changes, right? There's lead vendors that go out of business. There's lead types that ebb and flow, some come and go. Like there's all these different things, but yet the names that are at the top always figure out how to be at the top. Because it's not just about the lead type, it's about the mentality and the work ethic and the practices that you put in place that no matter, the variables that change, you have some things that you can count on to be constant.
Mm-hmm. No, I agree with that. And I think the biggest thing that I've learned is that the type of lead really doesn't determine your success. It just determines the amount of hours that you're going to be on the phone, because the leads are the leads. If all you can afford are bronze leads, it's going to be a 12-hour dial day for you to book 10 appointments. It just is. Like, that's what it is. These are year-old leads. If all you can do is gold leads, it's going to be a little bit of a longer dial day. Now, if you can get some brand new leads, if you get some $10 leads, some $20 leads, the numbers are still the numbers. Like, I don't see many people going out. You're not booking 40 appointments in a day. Like, if you have a really good dial day, you're booking like 7 to 15, like a really, really, really good person's booking like 18 to 20. Like they're crushing it. 18 to 20, it's like the top of the top. You're booking that many appointments. Like 7 to like 15 appointments in a day is like you've worked. Like you started dialing at 8 and you kept dialing all day on Monday to set your appointments for Tuesday and Wednesday. You set yourself, 6 to 10 appointments a day. And whether it took, there's days where, I get all my dialing done in 3 hours, and there's days where I'm dialing from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. to get it done. So regardless, it doesn't really matter. Like once you have the appointments, like that's what matters. Like people go like, well, I think they just get stuck on the amount of time that they have to dial to get that number of appointments. So I guess, Josh, talk to us a little bit about that from a perspective of like, how has that changed for you? Because you started off, working, final expense, internet leads when you first got started. And then, you got on, what everybody thinks are like the golden ticket to making money in this business, brand new mortgage protection leads, which when we first started were $40 a piece. And now they're $90 for one lead. So when you talk about that, like that's a lot for one lead. And then at the beginning of the year, you're like, Jamie, I'm going to drop all of my mortgage leads. Talk to us a little bit about that journey and kind of how, even though you dropped what some people would consider the good leads, you still figured out a way to piece it together with what was in the ILC and the CRM.
Yeah, I think, man, that was such a good thing for people to know. And so again, yeah, we started where we started. We're all in the field. doing the 12-hour days and all that stuff, running our 30 appointments a week, and that worked. But then, we had telesales came along, and then at different times, we're all just trying to like figure it out. And are we going to make the transition? Are we not? And what's that going to look like? And what's the lead type? And we're hearing different people doing different things. And so, a lot of us jumped on, hey, let's go get as much mortgage as I can. And that's kind of, for me, when I started doing telesales, I wanted to get more mortgage leads. Well, there was none around me. So I had to go to places that were hours away or states away, right? And so I'm like, well, I have to go over the phone, right? And so I started, I was driving in my car to go to appointments, then I would pull over and do a telesale. Then I kind of made the commitment one day, and I locked out like 70 counties. I sent Jamie just a list of counties. He's like, okay, I guess we're doing this. And so I started getting these leads in, and we all know what's happened in the mortgage industry, where it's kind of crazy. There's less of them. Interest rates are higher. And so I'm looking at this, and then next thing you know, you're paying $85, $90 for a mortgage lead. And then, you call them and somebody else got the lead. It's like, well, it's kind of getting to the point where these feel like every other lead that I've ever called, except for I'm paying $80 a lead. And I'm looking at my lead budget. I'm spending a lot of money. I'm spending what top producers are spending. And I feel like I could be doing so much better, but I'm not getting as many swings at the bat. And I'm going, look, this is cool for me. This is cool for some people, but what does the average person do that, maybe they're just getting ramped up? And I'm like, I have to figure this out so I can be an example and tell my newer person, like, here's what you can do with the leads that are available to all of us. Like, there's got to be a way that I can make this work that is a very duplicatable way to go about this. And so I kind of started on that journey. And, I've made this work on virtually every lead type, right? Just even 1 week, just for the sake of like making it happen, I went and I only bought the aged mortgage leads that are like 8 years old, and was able to, set like 12 appointments and help 8 families that week. Right. And so again, it doesn't matter the lead type. It just matters, right? Like, are you working the hours, making the dials, sending the text messages, getting the appointment count? And if you can figure out for X, then you can make the numbers work. Now, I'll say, like, in kind of doing that, what we're able to find out, or what I was able to find and test out, is like, okay, what text messages work? Can I set some appointments by text and phone, right? So, I can be sending a text, or I can start a text campaign, and I can be calling, so I can be booking appointments while I'm not working, right? Like Warren Buffett says, the definition of wealth is you can figure out a way to make money while you're not working. Like, that's wealthy, right? And it's the same thing for our business. Like, how can you make the machine run when you're not like physically pushing, the thing up the hill? And so was able to sort those things out, test them. And a lot of that is what's gone into what we're doing with Lead Champ. But, how to make more people show up, how to get them to respond back so we can book an appointment, right? Like all these things. And so that led me to where we're at now. I can confidently go out and help 10 families in 3 days on primarily all older leads from the ILC. Right? Like very, very, very small portion, maybe 10% or less of my overall lead strategy is from new leads of any kind.
I just want to make sure I'm hearing this correctly. So 90% plus of the leads that you're booking are from the ILC in the age category.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, 100%.
So talk to us a little bit about, because obviously just give us a basic overview, because there are a couple softwares out there that already, do this, TurboTax, Zepo, et cetera. Lead Champ is going to obviously be fantastic and hopefully available to everybody next week. But talk to us a little bit about just the balance of dialing and texting and some of those things that you implemented and tested.
Okay. So when you say balance, just like how much was that look like?
Yeah. So, what is it? There's some people on here who they're hearing like text and they're thinking like, oh, so I should like individually text every single one of these people. Like give us kind of a roadmap of like what it looks like to dump some leads that you weren't able to get a hold of into a system for somebody who's like a kindergartner that doesn't understand that.
Yeah. So a couple things. Sometimes, we get we have these different mediums, right? Phone, text, email. Okay. And I get it. At the core, if we went around and asked everybody and they were honest with themselves and us, they would say, if anything I can do to get out of dialing, I want to do that. And the honest answer is, over time, as you gain confidence and resources, you can decrease that greatly and buy your time back. Know that, okay? Like when we're talking about doing the 12-hour dial days, me and Jamie did that for a very long time. And over time, you can decrease that greatly, okay? But you need to do it, you need to learn it, and you need to know it so you can teach it, okay? Even if it's not like you're building a team, but maybe you have somebody helping you, you need to be able to teach that person what a good call and a bad call is. With that said, okay, you need to do them all, right? You can't just go, well, I'm going to email people and see what happens. Like you're going to just be staring at your inbox, or I'm only going to text people and see what's going to happen. Your ROI is not going to be as great, right? But if you do all three, right? Think like an octopus. An octopus has 8 arms, right? And if you put all 8 arms, you can like surround somebody and they're not getting away. Well, you know, all the different mediums is that, right? So you call them and you do what you triple dial them, you do what you're going to do, and you don't get a hold of them. Well, depending on the lead type, you can text them. But even still, if you've ever texted somebody, your best friend, you can text them and they don't text back. And you talk to them, it's not because they read it and said, you know, screw that person. They got busy. They were driving the car. They looked at it. They put their phone down and they forgot to respond. And then you go, okay, well, these are people that don't know us. Yeah, they filled something out. Do they remember? Are they thinking about it? Probably not. And so a lot of times they're not going to answer on the first text. And so all these softwares have campaigns or campaigns available that you can make. To be perfectly honest, a lot of them have campaigns available to make, but they don't have them readily available, pre-written in our niche, specifically the way that we need them done to get the result. And that's what we've done. But what that means is you put a bunch of leads in, kind of like you upload them to Phone Burner, right? Let's say you have several hundred internet leads, right? Just for a thought experiment to see what happened, I went back and I took a whole month's supply of internet leads from a year before, and I dumped them into a campaign. I uploaded them, and then the first message goes out, the second one goes out, the third one goes out. And I remember I ended up booking up like so many appointments. It was like 1,000 leads. I booked like, I don't know, 20 some appointments through text, ended up helping like nearly 10 families. Imagine that. Like you've already spent money on leads. You've already made money on leads, maybe 5 extra leads. And then you come back a year later and like and you make, you know, another 5 or 10x. Like it's insane, but that's what you can do. So now take outside of that, right? You take like, we have the final expense, and we have the mortgage that are a few months old. You take those and you call them, you get some results, but then you put them into a text campaign. First text goes out, the second text goes out, they respond, you book an appointment. What would that do to your ROI? So what I found was I was spending less money on leads. I was selling more. And if anybody's in our chat, maybe you saw a text a while back that I put in there. I said, hey, here's my numbers. I'm selling 10x of what I'm investing every single week because of all these different touch points, because, you know, I'm putting these things in place to be able to set the appointments. And once you have the appointments, everything else is going to come out. Right. And so again, that's what these softwares are designed to do. The trouble is, a lot of times for anybody that's like me, you're not like the super techie guy. We have all this available. We're looking at the buttons and going, I don't know what any of this stuff is. And then you start thinking about, well, what should I say? I don't know. And then you hope that somebody does it for you. You end up paying somebody a ton of money to do it for you. And they're not even in the industry. They're not a practitioner. They're not talking to people every day. They're not texting people every day, trying to run appointments. And so those were some of the missing pieces. I didn't see a lot of places. I would hear, well, this guy sent these 3 texts and he gets some results. And well, there's that campaign over there, but it doesn't really do what I want to do. And so I just started putting these things together and testing and go, okay, well, that didn't work. When I said it that way, that didn't work. Okay, when I said it that way, they started showing up. Okay, well, if I put the link of my credibility profile in the text in the software, it actually kicks it back and it won't deliver it. So I gotta stop doing that. So the last 6 months, that's what it's been like. And to put all that together and finally have something where like every single day I know I can get up and produce a certain result, you get to this place where, am I working less hours? No, I'm not working less overall total hours. I'm still working a lot of hours, but the energy output is so much less. What does that mean? Well, I'm not fighting traffic. All right. I'm not driving up to people. I haven't got bit by a dog this year yet, Jamie. That's exciting. Last year I got bit by 3 dogs. I haven't had a 12-hour dial day. Now, have I ran appointments for 12 hours? Yes. You know what I mean? Have I still had to deal with all the other stuff, chargebacks, and yes. But now it's providing me not only the time, right? Like after this call, I think one of my girls are acting crazy. I might go up and body slam or something. Just kidding. But I'm able to I'm less concerned about work-life balance, more concerned about work-life integration, because that's what this business allows us to do. But not only that, right? Like once you kind of make that push and you say, okay, I'm going to put all the effort in, I'm going to get the momentum, because we all know this is a momentum business. You got to get the thing up and running. Now you have the resources to buy your time back. What does that mean? You can put resources into, recruiting talent. You can put resources into a VA to help take off some of the load. So you can put your focus on really the only 2 things that make us money here: helping clients or teaching an agent to help clients, right? So that's how we all need to be thinking, is how to overcome those things.
100%. And I think the big thing here, guys, a lot of that, you're like, well, how do I create what Josh created? How do I don't even know where to start. How do I piece that together? You don't have to. We did it for you. So we're excited to be able to launch that out for you guys and have you guys all have access to all of those tools. We're excited for you guys to be able to send all those texts with the press of a button, and we'll have trainings for the next couple of weeks explaining kind of how all of that works. And I think the biggest thing is these were all things that we knew were important to do. It makes sense. If you don't get a hold of someone, send them a text. But if you're buying batches of leads at 100, 200 leads a piece at a time, do you really have time to go back and send that second or third text message? No. To go back and follow up to the person who didn't answer the first time? Absolutely not. You're just gonna be scrolling through text messages after text message after text messages, trying to keep that organized. It's kind of a ridiculous use of your time. So automation, software, all these things, we're just really trying to help you guys become more efficient. So again, is texting going to save your business? No, absolutely not. But dialing the phone to book as many appointments as you possibly can, using texting, emailing, even things like voicemail drops are available that we might add into our system, where we're trying to pick up the pieces. So if I buy 100 leads and 15 of them book appointments with me, I have 85 left. That means 85 of them either didn't answer the phone, or they did answer the phone and they said no, or they hung up on me in the first 3, whatever it is, or they don't answer phone numbers they don't know. And then I go back through it and maybe I pick up another 10. Am I ever going to pick up the full 100 leads? Absolutely not. But if I can grab just a few more leads, a few more leads a week turned into appointments, the numbers are staggering when you actually zoom out and look at something like that. The difference of if somebody is booking 15 appointments on a dial day and then texting helps them book 5 more, and they do that twice a week, and they have an additional 10 appointments a week, and they go from 30 appointments a week to 40 appointments a week. They go from 120 appointments in a month to 160 appointments in a month, simply because they implemented some automation for texting to pick up some people who fell through the cracks. Zooming out, that's a really, really big deal when we're starting to just incrementally increase our ROI over time. So those are the kinds of things that we're really trying to do. So, Josh, obviously, software is going to be coming out. People are going to be able to have access to it. Automation is something that's going to help people become more efficient. Systems are going to help people stay more organized. But it doesn't matter how good of a tool you have to do that kind of stuff. If people still aren't willing to put in the basic grunt work, none of this is going to work.
Yeah, I mean, you hear all that and say, okay, it does this, and I'm really excited once we like roll this out and show people like how it's going to take a lead to a contact to a customer and follow through the whole step. It's pretty cool. But the only reason that it works so well is as an operator that is willing to like sit there and make sure like it gets taken care of, right? Like, so yesterday is my family day. Like we usually take it off. I did run 2 appointments yesterday. um didn't go great, but it's like, hey, that's 2 extra appointments. Like I had to have some appointments this week that didn't go great. I got 2 out of the way yesterday, but I was able to book like 4 appointments at the pool, right? So we're at the pool, texts are going out and coming in, and I'm just like answering some texts and booking some appointments. And so you still have to be like paying attention. You have to be, committed to the goal. You have to be on, right? It's not, I just think anybody that's just like, oh, here's a done for you service, and you just sit back and let things roll in, like they're selling you a bag of goods.
100%. I mean, also like, yes, there are some improvements in like AI and some chat bots and things that like we might be implementing to be able to help, continue on conversations that maybe died that you didn't realize died and bring them back to life. But like if we send out 2-3 text messages and you don't answer those text messages and the client reply, like no appointments getting booked, so if you're not monitoring your text, if you're not replying back, like even if a client does reply and they're like, yep, that was me, you filled it out, like you still have to carry on that conversation and book the appointment, so it's not a 100% done for you, but it's about bringing people back to life who were previously not answering.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, I've heard you say this, Jamie, that, and I kind of said it earlier in this call, that, the only difference between, somebody who's doing 15 to 20 families a month and somebody who's like, doing 30, 40, 50 is really, they're spending more money on leads. And, while we just talked about how this is going to like help increase ROI and, help in all these areas, yes, it will be improved, but like all the same principles still apply. And so like I was kind of reviewing everything that I'm doing, and I'm like, I'm still like, okay, that's cool, but like how do I get to the next level? Because there's plenty of people that are doing bigger numbers than I am, still. And that's what I need to do. Like I need to go out and I need to spend some more money on, leads to be able to like fill the gaps, because as many as appointments as I have on the books, right? Like I still had plenty of time where I could get some more in today, right? Like I had no shows, this one moved, I got on the phone, like, I had 11 appointments today, but several times I got on the phone, they're like, hey, can we reschedule? Or they no showed. I could be doing something for that hour. And I wish I had, some more leads that I could been working on in that hour, right? So I can still be more productive. But you have to be committed to going to the next level versus, oh, hey, I got a no-show. Let me go make a ham sandwich and just sit around. No knocking on ham sandwiches. I love ham.
Awesome. Okay. So lots of things we're excited about, guys. Obviously, the system is going to be great. We also are starting this week testing out some new leads that we're going to be launching out to the team as well. We'll be doing some testing. We've got a handful of you guys who are going to be helping us out with that, some online mortgage protection, some occupation based leads, which we're excited about, and ultimately going to continue to grow that into a handful of different categories. So excited to be able to offer you guys another lead type as well. Like our goal is just to continue to grow, continue to help you guys get better, continue to help you, monetize and get better ROI. But I think as we start making improvements to help make your job easier, like as Josh said, it becomes very tempting to say, how can I learn to do the least amount of work to make the most amount of money? And that's okay. Like that's like, you go watch any like internet marketing ad. Like I literally had a dude who wants to connect with me here in Greenville, and he's in the property and casualty section of insurance. And his bio says how I work 4 hours a week and how I can teach you how to do it too. And like that stuff really bothers me, because it's like, maybe you somehow created this perfect system to work 4 hours a week, but like 99% of people if they want to reach any significant level of success in any business, like business is hard. Like I've been doing business now for 12 years. And I still am working some 8-hour days. Yeah, I haven't figured out the perfect leverage. We still have to work hard. There are principles. There are all kinds of things that are in place for a reason. And any of these like get rich quick, too good to be true things. Like I would rather than the idea of how do I do the least amount of work to make the most amount of money? What if I just said, if I've got gas left in my tank and I got oxygen left in my lungs, I'm gonna do the most amount of work to make the most amount of money. Like what's a bigger guarantee? If I do the most amount of work to make the most amount of money, like that's a guarantee versus I'll do the least amount to make the most amount. Well, what happens if like that little bit of work doesn't work? Like then you're shit out of luck. But I can guarantee the results if, as long as I'm living, I have the mentality, I'm gonna do the most to make the most, and then guess what? If you get really, really good at this, like the numbers get kind of crazy. Just in like the person who goes, well, I'm just going to learn how to sell 10 families in one day, and then I'm going to take the other 6 days off. Why? You could help 70 families in a week if you wanted to. Like, why? Like, it's just a weird mentality to have. So, like, I'm young. I just turned 30. I got plenty of gas left in the tank. Yes. Do I want to create leverage? Do I want to create automation? Do I want to be able to buy time back? Do all those things? Absolutely. But the mentality, regardless of what it is, whether I'm buying brand new leads, old leads, whatever, if I have someone dialing my appointments for me or I'm doing it myself, like it should be like, how can I maximize the time? Like, yeah, no, Josh isn't having 12-hour dial days anymore setting appointments, but he's having plenty of days where he's doing 12 hours straight of running appointments. Like imagine going from dialing 12 hours a day just to book your schedule to I have a book schedule every day and I'm just going to work and I'm going to maximize the results. Like that's the mentality that we're trying to really, teach here moving forward. So Josh, any final thoughts, moving forward here? Obviously we got a lot to unveil here in the next couple of weeks, but any thoughts to kind of leave everybody with?
Yeah. And I would just say again, like the average person out there that sees this, like you're grinding it out, and maybe the results, like you feel like the results are just out of reach. Know this, right? You're still going to have to work hard. You're still going to have to do all the unfun things to get the ball rolling, right? Because like, even if it's like the cost of the CRM, it's like, maybe you're like, I can't afford that right yet. And it's like, it just feels like, oh, everybody's doing all this fancy stuff and I'm not there yet, right? Jamie says all the time, don't do what we do what we did before, right? And so you still have to do that so you can go out and don't work just to get oh, I'm working just to pay my bills. I'm working, just so I can do X, Y, and Z, right? Go work to do extra. So you have a surplus of resources. So then you can start to build the machine that does the work. Right? You can start putting resources into some of the things that we're talking about, learn the skills, have the resources, have the softwares, have the VA, right? So it can free up your time and your mental energy so you can be your best self for your family, for your clients, and for your agents. So you just got to get there. So if you're on the grind and things aren't clicking like you want to, just know you're on the right path. Keep going.
I love it. Well, guys, stay tuned. Again, I'm just crossing my fingers that we do everything that we have to do to be able to still help 10 families in the week and get the software out to y'all by next week. So we appreciate y'all. Hope everybody has an amazing evening. Look out for some updates across the board, and we will talk to y'all on Thursday evening on the Insurance 101 call. Peace out, everybody.